Now, with all the stories making the weekend headlines, it's the ITV News.
The Taliban enters Kabul as it closes in on power in Afghanistan. The country's president has fled and negotiations are underway for a peaceful handover with little military resistance. Also ahead. Prayers and remembrance for the 5 people killed in the mass shooting in Plymouth. And the stars of Team GB prepare for an Olympic homecoming.
This is ITV News with Gamal Fahnbulleh.
Good evening. The Taliban takeover of Afghanistan appears to be almost complete tonight, with its forces having reached the capital, Kabul. Negotiations are underway with the Afghan government to secure a handover of power. President Ghani is reported to have fled abroad as Britain and America scrambles to evacuate its citizens. From Kabul, our senior international correspondent, John Irvine, reports.
The Americans want to avoid a Saigon moment, but today there was more than a hint of comparable chaos here in Kabul. US helicopters flying over the city were dropping chaff flares for fear of Taliban anti-aircraft fire. The choppers were flying between the US Embassy and the airport, which for foreigners is the only way out of the capital. These pictures show Taliban leaders in the capital itself getting a warm welcome. How many people are genuine supporters and how many were frightened into this adulation isn't clear. The Taliban commander said Kabul had been conquered and that under Sharia law everyone's health and wealth would be secured. The speed of their advance has been shocking. They've achieved in days what the Americans predicted would take them weeks. Yet another thing the United States got wrong here. So, in the space of little more than a week, the Taliban have taken control of pretty much all of Afghanistan. Repeatedly, President Joe Biden has urged the Afghan army to fight, but it hasn't. The British and the Americans have spent billions trying to train and equip an effective Afghan army, but the policy has been an abject failure and allowed for the Islamist takeover of this country. The streets of Kabul are far quieter than normal, with many residents not daring to venture out. Women in particular are noticeable by their absence.
Everybody is scared actually, so especially women. And they are experiencing actually democracy for years and years, and now if they are getting abandoned, then it will be something new for them. That's why they are scared.
Amid the confusion, the Afghan government was negotiating its surrender. A transitional administration will be Taliban-led. The American military intervention in this country was originally called Operation Enduring Freedom. What a misnomer, for it's ended up anything but. John Irvine, ITV News, Kabul.
Well, here, MPs have been recalled from their summer break to discuss Afghanistan in Parliament next week. And in the last few minutes, Prime Minister Boris Johnson has been speaking about the situation, having just held an emergency COBRA meeting.
I think it's very important that the West collectively should work together to get over to that new government, be it by the Taliban or anybody else, that nobody wants Afghanistan once again to be a breeding ground for terror.
Our global security editor, Rohit Kachru, is in Washington this evening. And Rohit, it does look like the Taliban now have control of Kabul. What is likely to happen next?
Well, there's no way to know because things are moving so fast. The latest is that the Taliban have control of the presidential palace. That's important because it suggests they might not be interested in transition. They may well want the keys to the palace now. They know they have momentum. President Ghani has fled. His defense ministry is on Twitter blaming him for what's happened. Meanwhile, there's gunfire, reports of gunfire at the airport where so many people are trying to flee. At the US Embassy, the flag has been pulled down. The ambassador has left. Meanwhile, here in Washington, the Pentagon is weighing up whether to send more soldiers. The same Pentagon that 2 days ago was saying that there was no imminent threat environment inside Kabul. It got it wrong again. There's chaos, and this is only day one of Taliban control.
OK, Rohit, thank you. The number of people killed in the earthquake in Haiti has now risen to 724. Another 1,800 have been injured. The 7.2 magnitude quake hit the west of the Caribbean island yesterday, causing extensive damage. A month-long state of emergency has been declared. Church services have been held in Plymouth to remember the 5 people shot dead by a gunman on Thursday evening. Special prayers were said that spoke of faith and hope as the city continues to mourn. Chloe Keedy reports from Plymouth.
In churches across Plymouth, today people sang, an act of sacred solidarity after a week that has brought this city so much sorrow and shock.
We are a small community, even though we're a city, and we do tend to come together, and I think that's important.
Maxine Davison, Lee Martin and his 3-year-old daughter Sophie, Stephen Washington and Kate Shepherd were killed on Thursday evening as they went about their separate lives by Jake Davison, a 22-year-old with a gun and a grudge. At a church in Keyham, not far from where the horror unfolded, the priest read out a prayer written by the Bishop of Exeter, specially for this community.
God of compassion and love, let your peace rest gently on the people of Keyham.
It really hit me hard, and I felt as though I needed just some spiritual comfort.
But according to the local MP, this community will need more than comfort in the days and weeks ahead.
I especially want to see that support put in place before the schools reopen in a fortnight's time, to make sure our brilliant teachers and teaching assistants have the expert advice and the resources they need to be able to help people process this.
Today, though, they continued to show their love and support for the families of the people who died. Chloe Keedy, ITV News, Plymouth.
All young people aged 16 and 17 in England will be offered a COVID jab in the next week under new targets set by the Health Secretary. Sajid Javid said it would help build maximum immunity before the return to school in September. Thousands will receive text messages or letters inviting them to book their appointments. Finally, Team GB's Olympic medal winners are being honoured today at a special homecoming concert at Wembley Arena in North London. They were welcomed onto stage in front of a big crowd who are also being entertained by some of the biggest names in music. British athletes returned home from Tokyo with 65 medals.
Keeping a bit of training going, can't stop now just because we're Olympians, but it's been absolutely amazing, the support we've had, and media attention has been insane, and so nice to reconnect with family and friends again and celebrate with them.
And that's it. I'm back with the late news at just after 10. Until then, have a very good evening. Bye-bye.